Hey, what's up guys? Justin at Empire Music in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and today we're taking a closer look at the new D-18 standard from Martin. So Martin has refreshed their standard line this year, early 2025, and we have the models in stock. We have enough of the old models that we are able to do some comparison videos. So I wanted to do that before we run out of stock on the old stuff and convey to you, how these guitars are different, both in feel and sonically. So before I get into this, I want you to know we have full-length videos on each model. So we have a video on the D-18 standard on empiremusic.com on the product page, and also on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out, and Joe will give you a deeper dive into these models and all the features that I'll briefly touch on in this video before we get to the sound comparison between the old model and the new one. So let's get into it. So the D-18 standard really doesn't need much of an introduction. Briefly touch on the biggies here. Solid spruce top, mahogany back and sides, and that's really the tonal profile here. We got spruce mahogany. Let's talk about the changes here. We'll go top to bottom on the guitar. So Martin has refreshed this guitar, and vintage enthusiasts, you will like the changes here. We have some changes that really take us back to the golden era of Martin. And we'll start with, up top on the guitar, we'll start with the nut. So the nut is cut at an angle, so it follows this transition between the fretboard and the headstock. So what that translates to is just a bit more of a break angle at the top of the guitar. It's not a feature that's going to drastically alter really much on the guitar at all, but it's worth noting because, again, it's a throwback to golden era styling. As we move down the guitar, we have a thinner fretboard on these guitars. So Martin has compensated for that by putting more neck material on the back. Translation, the neck feels the same diameter wise. We just have a thinner slab on the fingerboard. When they do that, we have a bit more of a rolled edge on these guitars. Somewhat similar to the Authentics, the Martin D-18 Authentic, D-28 Authentic. The edge is ever so slightly rolled, and it's a comfort feature, really. It feels really good. Feels slightly more broken in than the 2024s did. It's noticeable. It's worth making note of that as far as feel goes. Much more comfortable. Internally on these guitars is perhaps the biggest change, most meaningful change sonically, which is golden era bracing. So Martin has implemented scallop bracing on these guitars, a throwback to the 1940s and earlier, where we have less material on the bracing, which translates to less tension on the top of the guitar, meaning a more resonant guitar. So it's a more nuanced playing experience, whereas the most recent models up until now, like in 2024, did not have the same touch response as the new standards do. So it's a very welcome change. Under the bridge, there is, the bridge plate takes up less space. There's less mass there. It also contributes to, again, more resonance on these instruments, and most importantly, it's the dynamics that you get playing these. The guitar sounds better, faster. You don't have to lay into these guitars to get the guitar to sound good. So that's the big takeaway here. Again, deep dive into these in our full-length videos where Joe will talk about this more in depth. For our purposes today, we really just want to hear these guitars side by side and see what these new updates, what this refresh means sonically. Last thing I'll touch upon, we have bone saddle, bone nut on all the standard series, ebony bridge pins now on the D-18 versus the plastic before, and one little change that you will notice playing this guitar is we have a slightly more rounded bridge. So the old bridges were CNC'd and came to a very sharp point. These still come to a point, but they use a little bit of handwork and machining to actually take some of the edge off of that, which when you're palm muting, And you know, if you play your guitar, if you play with your hand closer to the guitar, that's something that you'll notice, a nice comfort feature that Martin has implemented there. So let's get into it. I'm going to play both guitars back to back. We'll give you some strumming, we'll give you some finger picking, and again, we'll see how the new D-18 compares to the old one sonically. All right, so all the changes Martin has made to the standard series really working to make the guitars, in my opinion, more lush, more resonant, more dynamic. Again, scallop racing, you really don't have to put a lot into these guitars to get them to sound their best. So let me know what you think in the comments as far as the 2024 model versus the 2025 sonically. If you have questions about these guitars or want to check out our inventory, head over to empiremusic.com. We have a chat feature there. We can also take your questions by phone, by email, sales@empiremusic.com, justin@empiremusic.com. Glad to talk to you about these guitars or anything else we sell. Thanks for watching.